Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. This is News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. India is all set to vote in the first phase of the elections on Friday in the largest democratic exercise of its kind in the world. 102 of 543 seats to India's lower house of parliament will go to polls in the first phase. Ukraine's Dmitry Kuleba seeks air defense systems like those in Israel, urges G7 ministers in Italy to think differently in terms of strategy. United States announces new sanctions on Iran. EU too agrees to expand sanctions on Iranian producers of drones and missiles. Iran says it could review its nuclear doctrine. EU leaders look at ways of deepening their capital markets union. The European Commission says 620 billion euros per year needed for green and digital transitions. In a message to the nation ahead of the Lok Sabha and State Assembly elections 2024, India's President Draupadi Murmu urged all citizens to join the festival of democracy. She called upon citizens to come forward, contribute in safeguarding the future of the nation and in strengthening the idea of democracy in the world.
My dear fellow citizens, an event of paramount importance is being organized in the country. Voting will be held soon for the Lok Sabha and for state assemblies. India, the largest democracy, is also the mother of democracy. For us, the elections are the biggest festival and the pride of the nation. I am sure that all the voters, especially the young first-time voters, are looking forward to voting. It will be an empowering moment when you will press the button and make your contribution in shaping the future of our nation. I invite each of you to participate in this festival and strengthen the ideal of democracy in the world. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Well, let's now get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election that's taking place from tomorrow in India. Well, the first phase of India's general elections takes place on Friday. This is for 102 seats in the 543-member House. And of these, a major chunk, that's 39 to be precise, comes from Tamil Nadu, which goes to the polls in a single phase. There are 21 states and union territories polling in this round. Voting starts at 8 in the morning and concludes at 5 p.m., with an extension of an hour to complete the polling process of voters who are already in the line. Anil Thomas puts the first phase in perspective.
Quick look at the 102 seats that go to polls on the 19th of April. This is the map of India there, and the seats from across the country, especially the east, where majority of the seats take place. Also Tamil Nadu, another crucial state that could decide the political fate of many parties, the regional forces as well as national forces. 39 seats in Tamil Nadu. Many states in the northeast getting over in one phase. In the north, you've got Uttarakhand that gets over in the first phase of voting. Let's quickly break this into 5 zones in India and take a look at how the numbers play out. First, the north of India, you've got 1 seat in Udhampur that goes to the polls. Uttarakhand in one phase gets over all 5 seats here. And Uttar Pradesh, the western part of Uttar Pradesh, that goes to polls in this particular phase. There are almost 14 seats there. BJP in 2019 managed to win 9 of them. Congress not. Others, which includes the Samajwadi Party along with the BSP, that managed to pick 5 seats in the northern belt of India in 2019. Juxtapose it with 2024, the numbers change. NDA getting 9, India bloc picking up 2 seats there. Others, the BSP, again fighting on its own. 3 seats there in Uttar Pradesh that the BSP holds. And that's how the north of India looks like. A quick look now at the western part of India. Rajasthan 12 seats, Maharashtra, Vidarbha, 5 seats in Vidarbha go to the polls, 17 seats in the western part of India. And if you break that 17 seats into 2019 results throw a mixed number with the BJP holding fort. BJP picking up 16 seats from the 17 in the western part of India. 1 seat, the lone seat of Chandrapur, that came to the Congress in 2019. Flip it with 2024, break it into the 2 blocks, the NDA, the opposition bloc. NDA having 16 seats there in 2024, the opposition bloc with 1 seat in western part of India. Let's now change focus and go to the third part, the southern part of India. This is where the big battle is in phase 1 of elections. You've got Tamil Nadu, all 39 seats, 3 union territories, Puducherry, Lakshadweep, along with Andaman and Nicobar Islands, 42 seats there in the elections. This is where the big battle is going to be played out. Quickly putting the 2019 results into perspective, DMK picking up 16, the Congress picking up 10, AIADMK 1, others, the left bloc, all put together picking up those 7 seats. Juxtapose it with 2024 numbers. Clearly, this is where I said the big battle will be played out. The NDA not able to open its account. The India bloc or the opposition bloc having 41 seats. The 1 seat that's with the others, the AIADMK faction, that's once again decided to go solo in these elections. Moving to the central part of India, you've got 7 seats there, 6 seats in Madhya Pradesh, 1 seat in Chhattisgarh. The seat of Batsara goes to polls in Chhattisgarh. Chhattisgarh goes to polls in 3 phases. 7 seats here. 2019 results, 5 for the BJP, 2 for the Congress. Congress managed to retain Chindwara, that's Kamal Nath's fortress, along with the seat in Bastar. Put it into 2024 numbers. It still doesn't change. The central part of India, the NDA has 5, the Congress or the opposition bloc has 2 seats in central part of India. A final look at the eastern part, that's the most significant part of India, because many states here, the polling process would be over in this particular phase. Bihar 4, Assam 5, West Bengal 3, the 7 sisters, almost all of them would be over except for Tripura, along with Manipur, that would be there in the second phase of polling. There are 22 seats in this phase if you look at the eastern part of India, and this is where another, the battle inside the battle would be played in the eastern part of India. 22 seats, BJP winning 13, the Congress winning 1, others having 8. Others, when I say the regional forces in the eastern part of India who managed to win the elections. Put it against 2024 numbers, the NDA has 21 seats against their name. The opposition bloc 1 seat, the seat of Shillong that Vincent Pala holds.
Well, that was Arnold Thomas giving us a compass view of the elections that are going to take place tomorrow. Now, conducting elections in India is a pretty difficult task, Herculean some might say, because of the large population in the country, but also because of the topography, and we saw a little bit of that. It's north, south, east, west, center. Now, here's DD India correspondent from Meghalaya telling us about the challenges that the Election Commission has overcome to make the elections possible there.
Elections in India is a massive exercise, not only because of the huge population of the country, but also because of the vast topography, which includes deserts, hills, rivers, lakes, which all have to be overcome by the polling officials across the country. And here, right now, we are in Sohra, and we are trying to document one such journey of the polling officials.
The Election Commission of India teams set up a polling booth ahead of the general election in the serene Nongriyat village in East Khasi Hills of Meghalaya. The journey for setting up this polling booth is a grueling one. The preparations begin in Sohra subdivision of Meghalaya, where first the polling officials collect the electronic voting machines and other equipment required to conduct elections. After a journey of about an hour via road, the polling officials reach the nearest motorable village, Tirna, from where the polling party has to go on a trek to the village.
and from here onwards there is no more travel path. So all the people, including the poll officials, have to carry all of their equipments, including the electronic voting machines, through a treacherous path of about 3,500 stairs. Now these are steep stairs going downwards, and to come back you have to take back the same route of about 3,500 stairs, that is equivalent to about 60 floors to make all the poll preparations so that voting takes place in the village.
The trek to the village where the polling stations have to be set up is an arduous one. Over 3,500 steps of climbing down with all the essential equipment has to be carried out by the polling officials. The elevation that they climb down is an equivalent of over 60 floors. The trek often involves the officials to cross bridges, rivers, and often in rains through a treacherous path.
To reach these far-flung villages in remote areas, the Election Commission teams often have to cross these kind of bridges and difficult terrains, which makes their job even more difficult as far as reaching those areas to provide them with all of the equipment that is required for the voting procedure is concerned.
After a day of journey on foot, the teams finally reach their destination, where now they have to ensure a smooth and transparent election process. The teams have to be present with the voting equipment at all times. The polling officials describe the journey as difficult but a fulfilling one.
We have about 144 voters as per the electoral list in the copy. The fact that the ECR takes all the measures, all the pains and vision to bring officials right next to the doorstep of our voters to vote, that itself tells that nobody is going to be left behind.
The people of the village welcome the polling parties and appreciate their hard work, which enables them to participate in the polling procedure with ease.
Sending many people down here, it's not like it just sending a person or two, it's like a group of them, like within 10 people. So it's really very much appreciated for the Election Commission.
The people of the village also say that due to the Election Commission's efforts, they can use their right to vote to bring changes in their lives and of the village. Nongriat village falls under P2 category of polling stations, where the polling teams have to reach 2 days in advance, keeping in view the difficult journey and remote locations. In Meghalaya alone, there are a total of 3,354 polling stations, out of which 747 fall under P2 category, which is only a glimpse of all the effort required to make elections possible in India.
Elections in India are not only characterized by the vast size of the polling procedure but also the nature of it, which requires hard work and dedication by the polling teams, and the challenges that they overcome to make this exercise possible in India truly make the Indian elections great. In Nongriat, with camera person Ashish Sharma, Akshay Dongre, DD India.
Well, in preparation for the 2024 general elections in Nagaland, polling team vehicles and materials, including EVMs and VVPATs, were dispatched for 6 districts in the state. And the Deputy Commissioner Kumar Ramnikant announced that Kohima has a total of 186 polling stations, with 51 being managed by women. Additionally, for the first time, the 10th Northern Angami Assembly constituency will be entirely managed by women. Approximately 700 polling team vehicles along with EVMs and VVPATs have been dispatched for these 6 districts. So still to come here on DD India News Hour. Indonesia shuts provincial airport in Sulawesi after the Ruang volcano belches explosive lava, rocks and ash for days. Pakistan's President Zardari addresses a joint session of Parliament, urges joint efforts to steer Pakistan out of crisis. And jury selection in the hush money trial continues. Trump arrives in court for the 3rd day of his trial.
Will the Israel-Iran conflict blow up into a full-blown war in West Asia or the Middle East? Who killed the world's largest anaconda barely days after it was first discovered? Watch Connecting the Dots every Friday at 8 p.m. IST or 14:30 GMT on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn, and now we are going to go across and talk to our correspondents who are in different parts of the country, get an idea of the preparations for tomorrow's elections. Here they are on the screen. We can see them. Tapas Bhattacharya in Kohima in Nagaland. Anbarasan is in Chennai in Tamil Nadu. Gautam Roy is joining us from Gangtok in Sikkim, and Shishir Shella is joining us from Nagpur in Maharashtra. Thanks all of you. Let me start with you, Gautam. Preparations are in place. Run us through the detail. Looks like the weather's an issue there.
Yes, Mark, preparations are definitely in place for the lone parliamentary seats election. That's the one seat that Sikkim has, and 32 assembly seats as well. So these are simultaneous polls that are taking place in Sikkim in the first phase of the general elections, and preparations are completely in place for it, be it security arrangements. 13 companies of Central Paramilitary Forces, apart from a lot of local forces, have also been deployed. All the polling personnel are in their place already. They'll be spending the night at these polling stations because polling begins early tomorrow at 7 in the morning. It will go on till 5. The only challenge, because the rest of it is in place, is the weather, because it's been raining consistently. I've been here since the 15th, and we've hardly seen any sun all these days, and that is what is being forecast for tomorrow as well. As long as the weather doesn't get really stormy, I don't think it will daunt people. I spoke to the Chief Electoral Officer, D. Anandan, here in Sikkim earlier in the evening, and he said that the last time there was 82% polling for both the Lok Sabha and the Assembly polls, and this time the goal is to take it beyond 90%, and I wish him all the best for that, because not that he will need it. I'm sure the people of Sikkim are more than ready to come out in huge numbers, despite a bit of a challenge from the weather, to give their own as far as the elections are concerned, exercising their franchise is concerned.
Yes, Anbarasan, so Tamil Nadu is the major state going to the polls in the first phase. Tell us, what the preparations are like, and also give us an understanding of how people are prepared. You know that silence period is over. People have thought about what they had to do, and voting is a serious business at the end of the day. I mean, people are choosing a government.
As Gautam said, the stormy weather in the northeast, in southern Tamil Nadu, all the constituencies, you can see the weather is like that much weather, heat. So this constituency, all 39 constituency are going for poll tomorrow, including the Puducherry, the one constituency. So all the 40 constituencies, all the EVM machines, ballot, everything sent to all the polling station. Across around 68,000 polling booths has been prepared with all the equipments, with the water, shades, and PWD voters can also enter, and the ramps, everything is all set. The Chief Election Commissioner for Tamil Nadu, Satyaprada Sahu, also said this election, last time actually around 75% of voter turnout has been recorded. This time we need to achieve more on that, and this is last time actually the month of May actually the election is held. This time this very April, May itself due to the weather condition. And this election kind of a triangular fight between all the ADMK, DMK and the BJP alliances. You can know that the BJP is emerging as a important player in that. We need to see if they tomorrow onwards, means after the election, see if they emerged as a second player in that. And also the 39 constituencies, they fielded every star candidates, and also the ADMK, DMK also reached out across all the 39 constituency, the leaders, and the poll ascended, yesterday itself. So yes, the poll campaigning, and this last 2 days, all the preparation on full swing. Tomorrow 7 a.m. onwards, the people are waiting to vote, and also we need to see the turnout how it was, and also this election kind of
yes,
triangular fight, and also 2014 to 2019 there is a totally different poll this time. So we need to see how it's going to turn out, and also all the three parties are going for the 2026 state assembly election. for this election turnout and the vote percentage and
Yes.
also the result may play a role in the 2026.
So the turnout is
for all
important,
the
and
three
that's a
parties.
clear signal also about the beauty of democracy. We're calling this, Tapas, the beauty of democracy in our country, seeing high, large voter turnouts. But as I was asking Anbarasan earlier too, that, you know, voting is a serious business. After all, people are making a social contract. You know, from where you are, the entire Northeast, in a sense, how are they viewing this election?
Well, there's no denying that part, that everybody is looking at this particular election as a way to push forth their case for development agenda in infrastructure development, in education development. But then, you know, I have to say that, you know, there are a couple of things that are very similar to what we have with Anbarsan as well as with Gautam. Gautam said that the weather is going to play a tricky role. It's definitely going to play the same role here in Nagaland, in Kohima. It is expected that 40% of you know, chances of rain, so people will like to get up early in the morning at 7 a.m. the polling will start, and you know, the election commission office here in Nagaland has said that out of the 2,342 polling booths, 1/4 of them have been marked critical. So you have 588 booths that have been marked critical and vulnerable. And at the same time, I like to say that, you know, both you know, there, you know, Anbar mentioned that there is a tri-party you know, tough you know, tussle going on here. Also, it's a tri-party tussle that's going on with Congress, you know, Congress candidate S. Supangbaran Chamir, and NDPP and BJP combined Chumben Muri, and as well as an independent Haitung Tungo Lotha. So the three candidates are in play, although we see the major fight going between the Congress as well as the BJP and DPP you know, candidate making most of that. But again, you know, making it a point that, you know, 6 districts in eastern Nagaland have called for a, you know, boycott, or what you say, abstaining from this particular election. So that it will be interesting to see whether they you know, the agencies manage to convince them to take part in that. But as of now, what I can tell you is that 6 districts out of the 16 overall districts in Nagaland have, especially in the eastern Nagaland, they have called for abstaining from this particular Lok Sabha election. Again, you know, we have to talk about the way the Election Commission's office has worked day and night to provide security and provide the last mile polling station. We have to just make it a point that, you know, we have out of the 2,342 polling station, 50%, more than 50%, almost 1,097 polling station will have webcasting facility. So you have the webcasting facilities in them, live webcasting facility, and 82 will be under offline videography. So all those you know, people who were talking about whether there will be some sort of malpractices going on, the Election Commission's office is making sure that you know, there isn't any such thing that will take place. And also with the flying squad going through the polling station, you will find a lot more seriousness. And as I mentioned, you know, you mentioned the fact that it's you know, people come out in large number in Nagaland. The last time the voting took place, it was over 85% of voting. So, well, one you know, we'll have to wait for the final result tomorrow night. But
yes, indeed.
we believe that it is expected to touch that.
True. Let's go across to Shishir, who's standing by in Nagpur in Maharashtra. Shishir, all three of them have talked about the weather, so let me ask you about that too. I mean, what steps are people taking to beat the heat? And also that Maharashtra is going to the polls in 5 phases. So, you know, I mean, in terms of the organization, from the EC point of view, what are the do's and don'ts?
Well, absolutely. It's it's raining in the north, and we have seen that it's humidity in the south, but in the middle of the country, where I'm standing in Nagpur right now, it's scorching heat, and probably keeping that in mind, special arrangements have been done by the election commissions here. That's the reason even the election commission have appealed people that they should come in early morning and cast their vote here. Obviously, the EVM will be locked tomorrow evening, but people must have locked their mind now that whom they're going to vote for. We've already shown what are the issues there in Maharashtra also, and in Nagpur particularly, because the 5 Lok Sabha seats will be going for the poll tomorrow from the eastern Vidarbha region of Maharashtra, and all these 5 seats have their own issues. We have seen this time around quite a different fight in Maharashtra. Obviously, on a larger scale, we have seen there are two alliances which will be fighting against each other. One, which is the NDA, which comprises of BJP, NCP, and the Shiv Sena, that is a Shinde party. On the other hand, we have seen that the India alliances is fighting, which includes Congress, NCP, Sharad Pawar, and Uddhav Thackeray, along with the other alliance partners. So obviously, the alliance partners and everything, the battle is ready for tomorrow, and people, as I told you, that must have made up their mind that whom they're going to vote for. This time around, the issues were different, obviously, because we have seen a completely realignment of the political parties here. We have seen a fraction in the political parties, be it Shiv Sena or NCP, and that's the reason this time around there's more on the platter for voters here, because they've got so many options to choose from. And that's probably a good thing for all the voters here.
Absolutely.
The second important aspect, as far as the arrangements are concerned, let me tell you that, in Gadchiroli, especially the sensitive zone, the Gadchiroli seat will also be going for the poll tomorrow. And that's the reason some of the areas of the Gadchiroli are sensitive. The polling party have reached almost 3 days before to these places here, because reaching to these spots is quite difficult. And at the same time, you also have the Naxalism problem around the region. And that's the reason, keeping that in mind, the security aspects and the other important issues that security forces must have kept in mind, and that's the reason the polling party have reached to some of these areas quite a couple of days before. Right now in Nagpur, also Nagpur known as the city area. Even now today also we have seen that the polling parties have reached to their destinations with all the equipments, VVPAT and the EVMs have also been placed at all the polling stations here. Most important aspect is that to make this experience quite a smoother one, and amazing. This time around, the Nagpur district election of the election officer have decided to conduct this polling, the entire experience, a theme-based polling experience. For example, let me tell you that some of the polling stations will be manned by women employees only. Some of the polling station will have the transit.
Shishir, I'm afraid we are running short of time, so I'll have to stop, come in there and, thank all of you for giving us a flavor of the beauty of Indian elections. And we can clearly see from the heat to the rain to the preparations. We look forward to your inputs tomorrow as we begin to see all this take shape as India comes out to vote for 102 seats tomorrow. Thanks for being with us. Now, the Election Commission of India has now allowed the Environment Ministry to issue green clearances during the Model Code of Conduct period. They were initially denied permission for that. A week after the announcement of the Lok Sabha elections on March 16, the Environment Ministry requested the Election Commission on March 23 to permit the issuance of environmental, coastal regulation zone, forest and wildlife clearances, as this had been allowed during the 2019 general elections. The ministry's letter on April 2 pointed out that the Election Commission had no objection to a similar clarification sought in March 2019 and requested the panel to reconsider its stand. In response, the Election Commission wrote back on April 10, stating that it has no objection from the Model Code of Conduct angle to the Environment Ministry's proposal. Other news now, amid protests from the PTI-backed Sunni Ittihad Council in Pakistan, the president there, Asif Ali Zardari, addressed a joint session of parliament on Thursday. He urged joint efforts to steer Pakistan out of crisis. Meanwhile, in a dramatic turn of events, Pakistan's former Prime Minister and the founder of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, Imran Khan, has sparked a controversy by accusing General Asim Munir, the army chief, of direct involvement in the sentencing of his wife. The accusation came to light during a conversation with the journalists at Adaila jail. According to a long post uploaded on Khan's official X account, he expressed, "If anything happens to my wife, I will not leave Asim Munir. I will not leave Asim Munir as long as I am alive." Threatening to expose Asim Munir's unconstitutional and illegal steps, Khan said that there was a law of the jungle in the country and all was being done by the king of the jungle. If the king of the jungle wants all the cases of Nawaz Sharif to be forgiven, and when he wants We are punished in 3 cases in 5 days. And some more international news. The former U.S. President Donald Trump's hush money trial has entered its 3rd day, and the juror was excused. A juror was excused from the criminal trial, citing that she felt intimidated because of some personal information that was made public of hers. The juror was among 7 who were selected for the panel on Tuesday. Donald Trump has pleaded guilty, he's pleaded not guilty to 34 felony counts for allegedly falsifying records to recover up hush money paid to an adult actor. The opening arguments are expected to take place on Monday. Okay, still to come here on DD India News Hour. The Kremlin calls U.S. aid to Ukraine colonial, says it won't change the frontline situation. IMF's Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva says Europe needs to do more to unleash innovation. And the Indian Space Association to hold a Defence Space Symposium in Delhi for the next 3 days.
To the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. The news tightens on Iran after its unprecedented drone and missile onslaught over the weekend against Israel. G7 leaders are mulling imposing sanctions on Tehran, while the European Union leaders, they have already agreed to impose new sanctions on Iran. The G7 leaders also strongly advocated help for Ukraine in its conflict with Russia. Let's look at this report.
Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani on Thursday opened the session of G7 foreign ministers meeting in Capri, underlining the willingness of G7 countries to bring peace to various international crises. The morning meeting was focused on discussing the current situation in the Red Sea and sanctions against Iran, particularly its drone and missile programs.
We are friends of Israel and we support Israel. But we want de-escalation in that area. We all are carriers of this peace initiative. We will also have to address how to sanction Iran in some way for the attack with hundreds of missiles and the drone attack against Israel.
Later in the day, G7 ministers turned their attention to Ukraine crisis. Speaking to journalists on the sidelines of the meeting, EU's top diplomat Josep Borrell said that Western countries must support Ukraine's defense systems and act quickly or risk the victory of Russia over Ukraine.
We cannot only rely on the US. We have to take our responsibility and stop saying, oh, the US will do. We have to do. We have Patriots. We have anti-missile systems. We have to take them from our barracks where they are, just in case, and to send to Ukraine where the war is raging.
German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock expressed hope that US lawmakers will approve a long-delayed military aid package for Ukraine. Agreeing with his German counterpart, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken also emphasized the need for the US Congress to pass the bill that would provide $60.84 billion to support Ukraine.
In these turbulent times, it is a hopeful sign that there are now signals from the Republicans in the USA that support for Ukraine can be continued intensively.
In this moment, it is urgent that all of the friends and supporters of Ukraine maximize their efforts to provide with Ukraine with what it needs to continue to effectively defend itself against this Russian aggression. For the United States, that means passing the supplemental, the extra budget request that the President has made for Ukraine.
On the other hand, European Union leaders in Brussels also agreed to impose new sanctions on Iran. In a statement, EU leaders urged all parties to exercise the utmost restraint and to refrain from any action that may increase tension in the region.
We have decided to put in place sanctions against Iran. This is a clear signal that we want to send. And we also want to do everything to protect the civilians. Each civilian life matters. We call on the release without any conditions of all hostages. We call on a ceasefire.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin said on Thursday that any new US military aid for Ukraine would not change the situation at the front, where Kyiv's forces were in a poor position. Raghav Kumar Jha for DD India.
European Union leaders are discussing how it could act to catch up with the United States, China and other rivals in a global race in new green and digital technologies. On Thursday in Brussels, the former Italian Prime Minister Enrico Letta, tasked by leaders with assessing the shortfalls of the EU single market, warned they could not consign a 147-page report that he will present to them to a draw, and he hopes for the best.
When it was created, we were with the Soviet Union. Germany wasn't reunificated. We were less than half of the member states. The European Union name was European Communities, and China and India together were 5% of the world economy. That was the word when we launched the single market 39 years ago. Today, new word and new needs. This is why we are here.
While at the start of the second day of the EU summit, Irish Prime Minister Simon Harris said that a capital markets union had to be done correctly.
There's far too much in terms of assets flowing out of the European Union and into other parts of the world. We're very eager today to play a constructive role in a discussion about capital markets union. But, and there is a but, you can do capital markets union, but you need to do it correctly. And I think like harmonisation of corporate tax law must be off the table.
Well, DD India correspondent Ishan Garg now joins us with Brussels with more on these stories. Ishan, many of the EU leaders, they are wanting to tackle the issue of capital markets union. Now, what is the real problem that's preventing this kind of union?
Well, there have been several concerns raised over the years about a potential capital markets union, one of which is, of course, the fact that there are economies within the European Union which are vastly larger than the others. So you've got the French and the German economy, which are clearly the heavy hitters in this bloc. And then you've got the smaller economies who worry that if a capital markets union is created and it's not done in the correct way, as the Irish Prime Minister earlier pointed out, it could become that the economic heavy hitters again get more power from that financial markets, and they become the financial superpowers within the bloc. And that's something that has been addressed by the Commission, the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, and also the head of the European Council, who say that the capital markets union is going to be essential. And they've given out some data saying that nearly 300 billion euros from European savings have been diverted across every single year, mostly to countries such as the US, and this money could potentially be used to develop the European Union. They've also said that companies can raise close to $470 billion every single year if a capital union is realized. So there's certainly the big upside potential to this idea, but we have read in reports that maybe not all members of the bloc are on board with this idea.
Also, Ishan, how serious is the challenge to make green and digital transitions for all members?
Well, this capital markets union is going to be a part of that transition. It's going to become a crucial peg for the European Union to make its transition towards green energy, towards quicker, better digital services, to making making those dreams a reality. This capital markets union could provide with the crucial funding that's required, and the challenges in terms of transitioning to green energy, the challenges in terms of providing better digital services are precisely the reason why the EU leaders have said that this capitals union is crucial for the bloc, and they have said that this funding can potentially be utilized for those projects. But this is only the beginning of that conversation. This 147-page report is really setting the stage for those negotiations and those crucial steps that will be taken in the next few months.
Ishan, also today was the second day of the summit, or is the second day of the summit. Are the Russia-Ukraine and Israel-Iran tensions testing the EU's unity as well?
Well, in terms of unity, there isn't a lot of tensions in terms of those issues, but clearly this summit was originally called to discuss the trade issues, to discuss the capital markets issues, but the Iran-Israel tensions and of course the Russia-Ukraine war has cast a very huge shadow over these negotiations, and because of that, on day one we saw negotiations here, we saw the talks here being completely overshadowed by those conversations, which led to, of course, the European Union now formally saying that it's going to impose more sanctions on Iran. And we've also seen some language coming out from the Union saying that they need to hasten the process of providing air missile defense systems to Ukraine more urgently. So it's certainly been a huge part of these conversations, even though it wasn't originally meant to be.
Ishan Garg in Brussels, thanks very much. The ongoing crisis in the Middle East is causing concern in the West, with fears that it could escalate into a broader regional conflict. The Lebanese militant group Hezbollah claimed responsibility for a cross-border drone and missile attack in northern Israel on Wednesday that the Israeli army said had injured 14 soldiers, 6 of them severely. An internal Israeli army memo said an initial investigation found that Hezbollah had fired 2 anti-tank rockets at an Israeli Bedouin border village. The country's military spokeswoman declined to comment on the memo. Israel's army has released a video on Thursday showing fighter jets striking Hezbollah targets in the area of Kite, including terrorist infrastructure as well as 2 additional military structures.
We know that the threat is there, it's still there. The Iranians are capable to shoot to Israel missiles and UAVs and cruise missiles, and this is exactly what we are preparing ourselves, as I said, for a very long time. And we have to say that it is us together with CENTCOM and the coalition which is around us, which is something very significant for the defense of Israel.
Amid escalating tension, a senior Iranian Revolutionary Guard commander said that Iran could review its nuclear doctrine in response to Israeli threats. In the latest update, the United States has imposed new sanctions on Iran's unmanned aerial vehicles production following its recent strike on Israel last weekend. The sanctions target 16 people and 2 entities involved in UAV production, as well as companies supplying materials to Iran's steel industry and subsidiaries of Iran's automaker Bahman Group. Meanwhile, the European Union leaders too have backed sanctions against Iran.
We condemn this attack launched by Iran against Israel. We have decided to put in place sanctions against Iran. This is a clear signal that we want to send. And we also want to do everything to protect the civilians. Each civilian life matters. We call on the release without any conditions of all hostages. We call on a ceasefire, an immediate ceasefire.
While finance leaders from the group of 7 industrial democracies condemned Iran's attack on Israel and pledged to continue work on all possible avenues. In a joint statement issued after the meeting, the G7 finance ministers and central bank governors said they would ensure close coordination of any future measure to diminish Iran's ability to acquire, produce or transfer weapons to support destabilizing regional activities. Rahul Upadhyay's report, DD India. The Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, has outlined the IMF's priorities for the year ahead. The global economy has shown resilience during disinflation. In her address, she identified key global challenges and she pinpointed policy solutions as well.
As possible. Growth is firmly in positive territory, and we have slightly upgraded our forecast for this year to 3.2%. Yet, there is plenty to worry about. Inflation is down, but not gone. In the US, strong economic performance has a flip side. Disinflation is taking longer than expected.
While calling Ukraine's position on the battlefield unfavorable, Russia has said that any additional U.S. military aid to Kiev would not change the status quo. And Kremlin also said that military aid would boost U.S. defense industry, but it would leave Ukraine in debt. The statement came as the G7 foreign ministers warned Ukraine was at the risk of losing in the conflict unless it received more air defenses. The Indian Space Association is holding a defense space symposium in New Delhi for the next 3 days. It will see military officials, private industry players, academics and startups in the space industry. They're going to discuss topics like empowering military operations with robust situational awareness and also reliable communication networks. The Indian Navy Chief Admiral Hari Kumar credited India's scientists with making India self-reliant in space technologies.
Despite countless challenges, resource constraints and denial of technology, our space scientists have shown to the world that we have the will, wisdom and wherewithal to be the ace in space. In fact, our ability to execute missions successfully, our out-of-the-box technological solutions and cost-effective approach have created a beeline of the very same entities that would not allow us to be part of the club.
The ace in space, that's nice. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. Philippines and New Zealand committed to signing a status of forces agreement. Dubai International Airport says normal operations to resume within 24 hours. Dutch surfers win season opener at Kite World Tour.
Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Will the Israel-Iran conflict blow up into a full-blown war in West Asia or the Middle East? Who killed the world's largest anaconda barely days after it was first discovered? Watch Connecting the Dots every Friday at 8 p.m. IST or 14:30 GMT on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Well, the state of Assam has many tribes, and one of the oldest surviving tribes is the missing tribes. They are settled on the banks of the river Brahmaputra. They've been there for generations. DD India correspondent Dibyendu Mandal takes a deep dive into the life and lifestyle of the missing tribes of India. Let's take a look at his special report.
Doli and his family of 7 stay on the banks of the river Brahmaputra in the Jorhat district of Assam. Doli is from the missing tribe of Assam, whose life and livelihood depends on the mighty Brahmaputra river and its many tributaries, which often also becomes a cause of their misery. Some 90 kilometers away from the city of Dibrugarh, thousands of families belonging to the missing tribe are settled in the world's largest river island, Majuli. The missing tribe here constitutes a significant number of voters, and their influence sways the elections here. Nestled on the lap of nature, away from the hustle and bustle of the busy life of the urban cities, like Doli, the families of the missing tribe cling tenaciously to their lifestyle in their unique flood-resistant houses called changar, which perch slightly above the ground on bamboo stilts. This tribe, predominantly an agrarian community, is involved in paddy farming, cattle rearing and fishing. In almost every household here you would find cattle. Fishing also forms an integral part of their life and livelihood, and the community depends on the river and the nearby ponds for fishing, which is also a major part of their diet.
What I am wearing is a traditional mekhla dress. This is a traditional attire, very typical of the missing community. The earrings and the jewelry you see are also traditional to the missing tribe. We live a simple life and make our own dresses.
Like this, the missing tribe also has their unique and traditional dresses that every household makes on their own. The women predominantly are involved in making of the dresses in their own homes, which are passed on through generations. It has only been 2 years since they have seen what electricity means. And even though now almost every household has an electricity connection, the frequency of the hours they get electricity fluctuates. To address this issue, the government has given them solar panels so that uninterrupted electricity is provided.
We missing people live of farming and cattle rearing. We have been settled here for generations. The river island is now the home. These houses you see are traditional missing houses. Beneath the house you see our cattle, and every home you see we have cattle. We are mostly into paddy cultivation. The government recently made these metal roads and gave us solar power connectivity.
The missing tribe makes up 18% of the state's population, settled in districts like Jorhat, Dibrugarh and Lakhimpur. The name missing means river people who have settled on the banks of the river for centuries now. The rhythm of their life has a unique fluidity and temporality built into it. With their entire fields and houses disappearing during the floods, new houses formed when the water recedes, lives rebuilt, crops sown anew. Life continues for the river people.
People of this community will be one of the key deciding factors as to who their leaders will go to the Parliament of India in Delhi. With camera person Jagmohan, this is the Diendu model from Assam for DD India.
Well, Dubai is now slowly recovering from heavy floods after Tuesday's record levels of rainfall, and many offices and homes have reported leaks. But as per the airport's chief operating officer, the Dubai International Airport is going to return to full operational capacity within 24 hours. The hub has struggled to clear a backlog of flights in the aftermath of the heavy rain. The rains were the heaviest experienced by the Gulf state in 75 years. They brought much of the country to a standstill and also caused significant damage. Thailand and New Zealand have agreed to elevate relations to enter the strategic partnership in 2026, marking the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations. New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon met the Thai Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin in Bangkok, and both nations have agreed. They made a pledge to strengthen defense and security cooperation. They also witnessed the signing of two MOUs in the sector of education, supply and repair. Thai and New Zealand Prime Ministers also affirmed commitment to combat transnational organized. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for the sports news. And the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League 2023-24 season have concluded. So the UEFA Champions semi-finals are going to feature Real Madrid against Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund against Paris Saint-Germain. So the German club Bayern Munich defeated Arsenal in the two-legged quarterfinals, and the 14-time champions Real Madrid defeated English club Manchester City 4-3. Here's more.
With the UEFA Champions League semi-finals on the horizon, here is a look at which teams will play each other in the semi-final stages. Semi-final 1, Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid. Bayern Munich will face Real Madrid in the first semi-final. Both the teams have faced each other 26 times, 12 wins for Bayern Munich, 11 wins for Real Madrid, and 3 matches ended in a draw. Bayern Munich qualified for the semi-finals after 3-2 aggregate win against Arsenal in the semi-finals. With a tie level at 1-1 after the first leg, Joshua Kimmich scored the decisive goal to send the Bavarians through to semis. Real Madrid reached the semi-final after beating Manchester City 4-3 on penalties after the tie was level at 4-4 after 2 legs. Semi-final 2, Borussia Dortmund versus Paris Saint-Germain. Borussia Dortmund will face Paris Saint-Germain in the second semi-final. Both the teams have faced each other 4 times in the competition, out of which PSG has won 2 and Dortmund has won 1, with 1 match finishing in a draw. PSG qualified for the semi-finals with a 6-4 aggregate win against Barcelona. The French team lost the first leg by a 2-3 margin but notched a 4-1 win in the second leg to qualify. Dortmund booked its semis tickets after a 5-4 aggregate win against Atletico Madrid. Dortmund lost 2-1 in the first leg but beat Atletico Madrid 4-2 in the return fixture to punch its ticket for semis. Narayan Singh's report for DD India.
In zero tolerance towards breaching of rules, the NBA has handed over a lifetime ban to Jonte Porter after a league probe found that he disclosed confidential information to sports bettors and also bet on games. Porter, who was a two-way player for the Toronto Raptors, is the second person to be banned from the league by Commissioner Adam Silver for violating league rules. Dutch kite surfers Pippa van Leersel and Jamie Overbeek, they clinched the top spots at the first twin-tip big air kite event of the 2024 Kite World Tour. Let's leave you with some breathtaking visuals of their competition. Well, India is also set, in fact, to celebrate the world's biggest democracy. It's a festival of democracy beginning on April 19. But ahead of the polls, the Election Commission officials have to face numerous challenges to make elections processes, smoother, more comfortable for the voters. These are some pictures of the Election Commission doing their duty in difficult times, difficult terrain. The poll personnel, going to various parts of the country, they are actually leaving no stone unturned to make voting a comfortable experience and make every vote count so that people can make their votes count. They can go and vote in these remote places of our country. Well, that's the sum and substance of DD India News Hour. And for those of you on the go, the latest news and updates from India and across the world are available on our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen and download now. In fact, that was going to come up. Here it is. You can see it, the mobile app. Scan that QR code and you can download it now. Thanks very much for watching from all of us here in New Delhi. Namaskar.